My name is Leon Johnson. I'm from Plainfield, New Jersey, offensive lineman for the Calgary Stampeders. Welcome to the show.
I'm actually happy that we got Leon here today. Long story short, we go way back, but I want to start it off by asking, are you happy?
Very happy. Very happy. I have things in place to help me seek happiness. Because we all go through ups and downs. So yes, I am happy, and I do also have things in place to take me on a path to happiness.
So when you talk about a path to happiness, what does that mean? Because you have people. I'm gonna just be very candid about this from last year to now. I'd even go down with the history of society as a whole. Last year, the world was literally on fire. We saw people lose their lives, as far as George, Breonna Taylor, different things. But you also saw people losing their jobs. You also had people lose life savings and lose homes within last year. So you just think about happiness from that respect. How are you happy now and have a path to happiness? Were you happy during last year, or kind of give me the picture of that?
Oh, so I mean, my path is I'm trying to take what happens to me, and I'm not saying whether or not it's good or bad. I mean, obviously, human nature is to say, okay, I like this, I don't like this. But that's not my main priority. My main priority is how can I use this, whether it's beneficial, whether it's good or bad, whatever that means. How can I use this to help me go forward? And the opposite of that is what stress is. When you don't have a plan for something, the anxiety starts to kick up, the stress starts to kick in because you if it goes wrong, you don't have a solution. But I think just seeing things for what they are and not looking at them for, does it make me feel good, make me feel bad? How can it help me going forward, mainly?
Nah, I get it. So my question is, were you happy last year?
I was happy last year, but I don't think I was as in control of my happiness as I am now. My happiness was influenced by shit on the exterior more last year than it is now.
Got you. So last year you made a project called 908.
Yes.
Which is a great project. Honestly, it's a classic in my eyes.
Appreciate you.
You made that within a year where you were essentially, you felt like you weren't in control of your happiness, but you finished a project. I want that to resonate. You finished something that a lot of people talk about but did it. So, were you happy with the outcome of that project, even though you weren't in control of your happiness?
I was happy with the content I was able to create. I wasn't, when I made it, it was more seeing thoughts that the more subconscious thoughts come into physical fruition. That was happiness for me. It's not necessarily if people are going to like it or not, because I know what I'm saying is the truth and it's what I believe. So beyond that is out of my control. But the content, creating the content is what made me happy, happy, whatever, you know what I mean? But to answer your question, the COVID, when it really sat everybody down, it made me restructure, me think, what is my purpose? How do I spend my time? How do I devote energy? And so it's funny that in a situation where you feel like you have no control, you actually use that to create something that is timeless. It's a duality really to everything we do, kind of. But that duality is our choice.
Definitely. So in terms of that, I want to kind of go back to something you said when you were talking about it. You were like, I created it in a time where I had no control, but the content made it timeless. What's something that you would say you learned about yourself throughout that process? That
control
in your time of being vulnerable, what's something that you was wow, I do that, that's a new superpower I didn't know I had.
Control what you can control, literally. We was told that shit and we was like, okay, cool, I'll control, nah, but control the emotion and the behavior that lead to the result you don't or do want. That's a superpower, because then it's falling is either, oh shit, I fell, I'm hurt, or what did I do wrong? How do I stay up next time? I just learned how to harness that. Instead of just letting shit impact me negatively and then always having to find something to make you happy, flip that. I have to find something to make me negative, but I ain't seeking it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in control of my happiness to the point where even if I don't feel social, I'm peaceful. Like I may have to pull away from people who's close, but that's self-preservative because if I'm not in the mental space, then me being there doesn't matter. So removing,
there's so many
controlling what you can control. It's almost like a rant. Like I can't really give you that straight answer because it's so multi-layered. Like, but the one thing I would say is controlling what I control and having a perspective that's reflective of what I want from life.
Got you. So for individuals out there, I'm going to break it down from each layer because I want people to understand that. You mentioned something, self-preserving, so selfish. And so your happiness and peace kind of boils down to your ability to be selfish. And not selfish, people take that as a negative term, but sometimes like you have to be selfish. So sometimes the question I have for you, what's more important to you, peace or happiness?
I believe they work hand in hand. Like if you have peace, you also have happiness.
All right, so
if that makes sense.
I get it, but at the same time, what I think is happiness is an emotion that you feel after certain things. So
peace is more like peace is a concept.
You can protect your peace.
Right.
I can't protect my happiness. Like happiness will come and go. Like you're human. You're not robotic. I will be happy. I will be sad. I will be mad. I will be angry. That's why people say like you have an attitude. Like everyone has an attitude. Like I don't want to hear that I have a bad attitude.
In that regard, I'd say peace. I say peace because like if anger wax and wane, right? But anger is beneficial if you figure out how to use it. So, but I would never ask not to have the emotion of anger, right? I want to be able to experience the emotion of happiness. I get what you're saying. I would say peace is more happy. Peace is more important because peace is going to be reflected how you treat people. Like if you're not peaceful inside, you're going to create unrest. So, peace.
How do you control, or I won't control, how have you been protecting your peace from last year to now?
Being honest with myself. Instead of trying to put myself in a position of comforting myself with something that's not necessarily the truth. Being honest with my role in shit and my lack or overabundance of.
What's something you had to be honest with yourself about?
My past, the trauma from my childhood that kind of frames my anger. I had to just confront it, say it out loud, say it to the people that it should matter to, because that's something you carry if you don't get to say it out loud, and that impacts how you when you see something remnant of that thing that you're carrying, it gives you the reaction is something that sometimes it wouldn't always be. Like the girl that had an abusive relationship, when a guy gets loud, it reminds her of that, and then her response is going to be reflective of not only what's happening now, but the trauma that's compounded over time.
So your triggers, like you have an understanding of what your triggers are now.
Yes.
In terms of your triggers, how is it kind of when it comes up? Do you try to avoid them? Is it like a fight or flight thing? Or do you become aggressive when they come? Like what happens? Like how do you react to those triggers?
It's hard to really describe it because it's like if I had to make it tangible, it'd be like I'm in a room and we're all standing up against the wall and that trigger's in the middle of the floor. I'll walk up to it and walk around it and inspect it. If that trigger was a physical thing, I'm looking at it. And then as I'm analyzing what the trigger is, I'm not really upset. I'm doing something in replace of you know what I mean? It's all energy output. So you might as well use the energy efficiently. So I want to get as close to the trigger as possible. Not like if it's a person, I'm not saying literally, I'm saying what is it that's making me upset, and really like deeply pick that apart. And then like, okay, well, how do I respond? Right. And then how do I change my thought? Because I carry things, I think of things a lot, like overthink things a lot. not overthink, but I think to a degree where it becomes, like a rap. Like you wrote something and you keep saying it to yourself so long, it's not like it got any worse, but you're so familiar with it.
Right.
That's where I try to get to a point where it's like, I know what it is that's making me like this, and then it won't make you like that.
So it's almost like marginal returns. And I'm glad you kind of mentioned that, because that's kind of where it comes in terms of happiness and peace. People always think about from a standpoint, I want to get to this place. And then once you get there, you realize you've been there a million times. So because you've been to that place before, it doesn't feel the same way you thought it would feel when you got to this ultimate destination. And that's the same with money. I think from a standpoint, like, if you think about, like, I'm chasing the ultimate thing that people are chasing is happiness and peace, or in safety and freedom. We assume that this one tangible object can get us there. We put our energy on that because that's what's tangible. I can't grab peace and happiness, but I can grab that money that can ultimately think it's gonna give me the effect I thought it would. Right. So when you get there, like, you get that first check, you get that first car, you get there, it's like, some people say, I feel like I've been here before. Kind of
like it didn't feel like I thought it was. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And have you had that moment within the last 2 years?
No, because I try not to, like, get too close to the outcome of shit. Remember, you used to say don't get attached to outcomes. Like, I don't, like, you could give me the same gift every year for 10 years. It's not going to mean less to me, because the act of you getting me a gift is what I appreciate versus what it is that you're getting. But in other words, that really means I'm accepting, I'm more in tune with the process than the thing, whatever the destination is. Like, the journey really, like, we get to those spots and we be like, I feel like I've been here, but we didn't really pay attention to the process to get there. But that's really where all the joy and the happiness and the peace really comes from. That journey that gets you there. Like, niggas who, Francis Ngannou, I'm gonna use for an example. You could look up his interview with Joe Rogan. You'll get understanding what I mean. But him getting to where he wanted to go, if you just stop there, it wouldn't really mean nothing. It wouldn't resonate. It couldn't paint a picture. It couldn't tell you. But when he told you his journey to get there, it makes you appreciate the shit that he's doing now. You know what I mean? So that's just one example. I think the journey is a lot more important than the destination. Because the destination, there is no destination. Destination is death, right? The destination is death. So the life is the journey. So why do we create many destinations that really don't exist?
Definitely. I want to break that down, because you mentioned the journey. And I think a lot of people forget how important the journey is. So I want to talk about the journey of your triggers, because I feel like a lot of people have triggers, but the way we react to them is different. So in terms of your journey, let's think about it from high school, college to now.
Okay.
That's an important part of your life that kind of controls who you're going to be moving forward. So when you experienced triggers in high school, how were you reacting to it? If you want to share the stories, please, but I want it to be more in depth than, like, the cliche. So if you could think of a particular situation, think about how you reacted to that triggers then, as opposed to when you were in college to now.
High school, Baalbrook High School basketball game. We playing somebody. This is like an infamous story. Every time I come to the school, my high school, they always tease me about it. So I might as well use that example. So we're up 20-30, mind you, right? Like, we had the record for most wins in school history. Like, we were that dominant. So we're up 30, up 20, halftime. And I'm upset that I'm not involved in the offense. Like, I don't have any points. We're winning, so why don't I have points? So I, like, you know how, like, bathroom stalls, and I just ripped the stall out of the floor. But that wasn't, it was just impulse and it was anger. Like, I met my triggers with anger versus meeting them with rationale now.
Pause right there. So you're at a high school game, you're winning. Like, you're in the eyes of society, you as a collective group are winning. But individually, you felt like you had lost.
Right.
How much was that tied to that situation of being in the game, feeling like you lost, as opposed to what you were going on off the court?
Outlook, how I looked at it. Like, the whole point of being on the team is to win games. But because the hoop mixtapes and one this and all this stuff want to see guys put the ball in the basket, I think that that's the most valuable thing. All the while, I'm realizing we're up 30. I got 2 or 3 blocks. I got 7 rebounds, and they can't even get a shot up. We're playing excellent defense. So I wasn't looking at it like I'm playing stellar defense, but I don't have any score. But who cares? Because I'm letting the perception of something I can't control dictate what I think is valuable, and then that's influencing how I respond to the situation. And that's not how it should be.
It's crazy because like if you think about it in today's day, think about it from this way. So back then, right, you got the rebound and you got the steal, but you had a person on your team who just happens to be 5'11" and not 6'5". So he stood at the top of the key. He knew that you were the best at filling and getting rebounds. So he trusted the fact that he could cherry pick and you're going to throw him the ball and lay it up. He had 25 points because he did nothing but run to the other side of the court. You threw it to him after doing the hard work and scored. Think about that from this standpoint. You have people in social media today who feel like they have to compete with people who cherry pick. What I mean by that is like you have people who buy likes, who invest in different marketing schemes so they can be at the top of these different algorithms, who enhance their body, who do different things so you can like look at me, look at what I did, because they get the hoo-ha's because they finish
because they think they basing that off of value from somebody else's opinion.
Right. But then you have other people who are literally doing things that are creating a change. Like there's probably someone who created the algorithm for them to succeed in who will get 10 likes on their page. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean by that is like we're not at a point where the rebounder and the person who got the steal is getting the same value as everyone else. Because with Instagram taking likes away, I think that's what's now going to make people realize like, I don't care. You're doing that for nothing now because that has no value. And I think it's gonna be funny moving forward, like what people place value in now, because now it's either you really have
now it seems like everybody wants to play the I'm Mr. Positive or I'm in the gym every day game. Like, see right through that shit. See right through it. This is where like, and it's similar. The niggas who actually get 1 million likes and niggas who buy 800,000 likes, but they only get 200,000. The niggas who really like went through something traumatic that makes them say, I'm going to create peace for human beings going forward. And the niggas who's like, oh, this is beneficial. Niggas, you get shared if you say something positive. It's going to make me popular. So let me do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got real and fake everywhere. So, yeah, that's actually interesting. It's interesting you point that out.
Now, in terms of, so now, when you deal with triggers, what's it like compared to then? Like, it's like then, so right then that time, you felt like you weren't reaching your potential, or you felt like what you worked for, you weren't receiving in that moment. So let's fast forward to now. Let's say right now, you worked so hard to get a certain result. And honestly, it's not even a result because you got the result. You wanted to win. That is the goal and result, to win. But you personally didn't get the measurables you thought you would have received in that moment. So how do you kind of approach that now?
Oh, now it's honestly, like my whole rationale is flipped. Like it's less about me and more about the collective, because the like you said, me doing my job helped someone else do their job, and it helped us all win. So if I instead of worrying about, what is this gonna look like to somebody else, like what is it that I'm doing, who does it impact, how does it impact them? That means more to me than, oh, look at me, I'm passing out 500 meals to such and such. I'd rather those people have something to eat than somebody see me doing community service. Like it's not about me no more. It's not. Like I try to my path of peace is so that I'm in the position to help other people. Like everything I do now is for someone else. Like it's not really about me at all, because this thing is gonna spin when it's all over with, right? So
exactly,
I gotta put myself in a position where we talk about everlasting life. It's not living physically forever. It's living through somebody else, and you can't do that if you're being the negative selfish.
I think it's important you just said that, because I want to tie that to like two parallels. One being the fact that you were a lineman, so like you left the basketball field where you felt like you weren't being valued to go to a position where it's like globally known they don't get credit for anything. You do the dirty work and not get credit for it. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I feel like it's taught you lessons that you wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. So you think
Absolutely.
about in terms of that, how heavily did your experience at alignment, and you still are one at a professional level, how did that
Mm-hmm.
tie into your mindset now of wanting to help others, but not really caring about the credit or the glory from it?
It raised my self-esteem for one, because it's like I don't have to get the praise because we ain't, right. But if we're successful, so that means I'm doing my job right.
Right.
So it's more of what I know to be true versus what everyone is saying or the affirmation that I'm getting from the exterior. It helped me see that whether you the radio, you the motor, or you the fucking tail light, you all have a function that makes this car a car.
Mm-hmm.
So glamour is is it's something we seek when we don't believe that internally. We need to hear it from someone else. But when you know it to be true, it's just another day.
Just another fucking day. Nah, that's
Another
really
day.
exactly, man. This has been dope. But now we're
Definitely.
gonna move on because I wanted people to one. I feel like interviews always do it backwards. They ask you always like small questions. Then when they go into something deep, I rather
Right.
know who you are as a person before I care about small talk with you. Because it may sound crazy, but it's just the truth.
Everyone's living that. Like everyone can tread water. Everyone can breathe above water. Who can go to the depths and still be
Exactly.
efficient?
Right.
Fact.
But I am so just to kind of switch gears real quick. I am aka Aux Pro Bully. What's
Indeed.
right now? If I give you the Aux, what's like the first 5 songs you're gonna play? We have a 30-minute drive from here to such and such. What's the first couple songs you're gonna play?
First 5 songs. I'm a big fan of a lot of music, But I'm gonna give you the 5 that I've been playing most recently. Johnny Cinco, We Not the Same, off the North tape. Champagne Yell, Toast Up Freestyle. Polo
Okay.
G, GNF, um, King Von, Mimo, Buka, Lil Dirt, Jump, and Mastodon, Curl of the Burrow.
Got you. That's a nice little solid list right there.
That's not really reflective of all my. Well, Johnny Cinco is one of my favorite artists, but that's not reflective of my favorite art. Like 4 of my favorite artists weren't mentioned, right? But
Right.
4 of them that I did mention aren't my favorite. So I listen to a lot of music. I appreciate people's art because I know it. I see it's just it's vulnerability. Like you recording yourself. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't like
Right.
looking at videos of myself. Recording yourself is a certain level of vulnerability, and then expressing your life is a whole nother level of vulnerability. And I just got respect for that, whether it come from gospel or rap. So I
Right.
listen to a lot of music.
There's so many layers in that, and that's kind of like what I wanted to get to. I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
glad you brought this up. If you want to think about an artist, like some of the best art, the best songs you like, it came from a vulnerable place. And
Mm-hmm.
to kind of make that art, we kind of have to revisit those triggers. Like I have to revisit those moments of pain, those minutes of like vulnerability, the times of failure, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when I'm able to make the songs that people probably like the most. One song that I think you would like in terms of that is a song by Ell King, ELLE King. The song is called
Mm-hmm.
American Sweetheart. It's not a rap song at all, but it's like songs
Well,
like that that I listen to that like they
mm-hmm.
give you that vibe. They give you those like I don't know,
Yeah.
it's like that. It gives you like that inspiration you need when you like get into one of your zones. So like, what is your creative process like when you're getting into like I'm about to start writing something? How do you get yourself there?
Sounds. I'm more in tune with my with the senses. Um, what's my mood? What do I see? What do I hear? How do I feel? What's the sound that's playing? Um, my creative, I release my conscious and allow my subconscious to take over. I trust my subconscious. I train my subconscious through my conscious behavior. So
Talk about that. That's big right there. I don't want to cut you off, but you said you trust yourself and you trust your conscience. How
mm-hmm.
did you get to that point where you trust yourself and trust your ear to that point?
In terms of music or just in general?
Both. However you want to answer it.
In general, doing the right shit when there's no reward and there's no nobody watching. So I know what doing the right thing for nothing feels like. Making the right decisions when there's no benefit. Making smart decisions or decisions reflective of what I want from life when there's nobody watching, so that when I don't have to think about it, that's what I'm doing. A lot of us is 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and so they don't trust themselves, so they can't trust nobody else. Because half the time they do the right shit, half the time they don't. I do what I know what I want from life, and I make every decision reflect that. So when I'm not thinking, my subconscious is gonna do it for me.
What was that internal conversation like? Like, were you always at a point where I'm just going to do the right thing, or like how did you get to a point where you know that no matter what, you're going to do the right thing?
Because I caused so much destruction doing what I wanted and doing what ended up not being the right thing, and I didn't want destruction no more. Basically, that's as simple as I could put it. Like 2014, we went 6-6. I played half the games. I had a 2.5. We won half the games, and we got snubbed from a bowl. So that was like so microcosmal. Like, you give half effort and you got a half result, but you're not going to a bowl. We're not rewarding you for half-ass. It's like, okay, so what if I give 100? And then my 2015 year was my best season at Temple. Academic dean's list, like no drama outside of the shit. You know, it's like that moment for me was like people say, give me a sign. That was my sign. And I was like, okay, well, if this is the truth, commit to it. I'm just commit
That's
to
your
it.
moment of truth. And like, I bring that up because you just answered the question perfectly. Last year was a year of truth. And like that part right there just captured all of that. Meaning you found out if you were prepared. You found out the answers. You were given a blueprint. You were giving the answer to the test. Right. And so now, once you had your moment of truth of like, if I just do this, this will fall into place.
I'm in my road to recovery.
So now that you're recovering, what was your road to recovery like? Because you got a point now where you trust yourself. You trust yourself because you had those tough conversations. You had that moment of, anytime I do this, I get failure. But if I just get outside my comfort level, if I just see what's over there, it may be more than what I'm doing now. So what was like the road to recovery like? Like, how was that? What were your trials there? What was like the high point where you're like, I appreciate this, your character building days?
Doing shit I didn't want to do and giving the same effort that I would with something I did want to do. Not picking and choosing, because when you learn, okay, let me give full effort, then the first thing you want to do is like, you want to pick what you give full effort to. But I don't know. I think it was the shit that I don't want to do, the shit that I'm not interested in, giving the same effort as I would. Like, I'll hold the door for a pretty woman, right? Or whatever the case may be. But I'm holding the door for a man as well. Like, I'm not gonna be one-sided. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely feel it. It's like, I guess more so focusing on the little things. Because like, everything you're saying, it kind of goes down to the minute practices that you have, that you form into habits. So the better habits you have, it sounds like the more peace or projection of positivity you will have.
Right.
But when you relapse, what gets you back on track? Like, how do you like fold back into your foundation of that you built to get back on track?
You got, this is about to be cliche as hell. You gotta sink to your level of training. you gotta go back to that thing, because you try to lose 30 pounds, you lose 15. Fuck it, I mean the sandwich. And then you look back on the scale, now you up 3. You got to go back to what it was that got you where you was at. Go back to your diet. So you got to go back to those things that you knew worked. Go back to the things that put you in the position you say you want. That's all discipline, though, and that's an everyday battle. Nobody is never, well, I mean, you get to a point where discipline becomes routine, but that thing always creep in your head to say, hey, just stay in bed today. You don't got, what you gonna lift for? What you gonna lift today for? You lifted all week last week. You can't take today off? Nah, that's, you can't let that voice seep in.
So you think about it.
Think back to think back to what it is that brought you there. Yeah.
It's crazy because you think about what you said. You lost 15 pounds, but today, like you earn that sandwich. You have that one voice in your head, but you also have the other voice that you done built up over time that's also telling you you don't need that sandwich because you're going to gain 3 pounds. We've been there
Right.
before. We've already relapsed and gained this pound. So that's also something I want to bring to the conversation. What cheat code did you create? Because a lot of times, so prime example, you have both voices in your shoulder, and you're
Mhm.
realizing that, dang, like it's a battle right now. I'm leaning towards both because I done been in tough times with both of these people.
Right.
What is your support system that helps you put that positive weight on the positive side so that you lean towards your discipline, your good habits, and the things you need to do?
Me. Me. Um, I don't trust nobody with putting me in the right position to do what I'm supposed to do more than me. Not my mother, not my spouse, not my friends. And there's no disrespect to nobody, but at the end of the day, we know how life works, and you got to be able to depend on yourself, or nobody else around you can depend on you. So I try to, I don't try, I know what it is that has to be done. And it's just about doing it, really, because it's, I, I feel confident in my ability to really be able to interpret just about any situation that I'll be in, and interpret it in a way where I could take from it and benefit from it. So I trust myself. I trust myself that I have to be my pillar, in order for me to be somebody else's pillar.
Got you. And I'm not going to say I disagree with you. I just want to challenge you on something. So,
Okay.
over your years of training yourself to love
Mm-hmm.
yourself, to trust yourself, to motivate yourself, there was no one from an external source, a person, a peer, or anyone you met
Well,
along the way.
of course, but it was trial and error. It wasn't. I didn't allow people to tell me something ahead of time. I didn't not fail first. That's how I became my pillar, because I was my own lesson. Whether it be rules saying you did that wrong, or somebody saying, you know what I mean. It's like I had to do it. I failed at some point, so that was the lesson. Now the outlook came from the people who were able to help frame me. So I shouldn't. I get what I appreciate your challenge. Yeah. So I'll reframe the way I answer that. The foundation of that, I would say, would be my failures. My ability to frame them and create an outlook from them absolutely did come from help. Yes.
Got you. And I think this is awesome, more so because I think from a standpoint of we go our entire life with saying, I'm my own man. I got it out the mud, got it on my own. And ultimately, you did. For you to ultimately make the decision, because we all have free will, make the decision to do right was your choice.
Right.
You either have an opportunity to do the work or not do the work. If you do the work, that's internal, intrinsic, like that's your motivation to do so. In
Right.
terms of the journey, I feel like everyone's journey needs to include others. What I mean by that is we're human and like we're in a world of 7 billion people. If it was meant for you to be alone, you would be on a planet by yourself. So like
Facts.
you're put here to impact others. You're here
Facts.
to help others. It's hard for you to have a true perspective of helping others if you've never been helped.
Talk.
So
Talk.
I think it's from a standpoint of like I want people to understand that you are your biggest advocate. You are your biggest person to help you. But in terms of getting to a place where you can trust you, you're going to need some help. And I'm saying it more so from experience. I was selfish to myself, a person who only trusted me. And I realized that didn't get me where I wanted to be in the first place. You get what I'm saying? So my comfort zone was getting out of the way of me.
Literally, word for word, like I could have said the same thing.
Right?
That's what makes me, so making myself uncomfortable makes me comfortable. So life can't make me uncomfortable. They radio, you can hear that?
Nah.
Oh, well, they stereo is crazy.
that's OD. That's fine. But nah, right now, so 908's out. Got a couple singles out right now. The connector's on the way. Like, what's ultimately next?
football in May. Well, no. When this drop, because this is gonna dictate whether or not I tell you.
It's true. I mean, we
After the 7th?
We could drop out of 7 before we drop out of the 7.
Damn, I really want to keep that a secret. Nah, I'm gonna keep that on top. But we got something special, something big. A lot of my favorite artists did it, so I'm excited for it. But next for me really is getting myself in mode to play football, because I want to, and I haven't really been clear about this. You know, sometimes you got to clear the clutter with social media nowadays. But with COVID canceling our season, it gave me the opportunity to dive full head into music and creating and whatever, artistry outside of football. But with football approaching, I got to get myself back into that mode again mentally, because being home and making music and putting a cage around your head is two very different mentalities to do that.
Right.
So what's next for me really is enjoying the moment of creating and impacting and helping and all the things that I'm doing, enjoying, relishing in that moment as a preparatory step to help me get into football mode. So it's not really that it's a personal. What's next for me is more personal than it is public, honestly.
Got you. Nah. Wish you all the best with that. Excuse me. In terms of camp, like, because camp is a different beast.
Camp is different. Camp is great, period.
How do you feel in terms of preparation? Because, like, you kind of went a year without camp. Yeah, to people who don't play football, like, camp is something that you knew since a child that once a year you had ultimate training camp, or a long duration of time where you only compete against these same people for this duration of time. It's like you're kind of confined to just experiencing life with them at this time. How are you preparing yourself for that mode again? Because you have a lot of freedom and, like, a lot of opportunity of just, like, you were in control of your choices, your timing, your management. But now it's like you're back to, this is time that's mandated for this, and I have to push you there to get to this point. Like, what's your mindset now with camp?
Just understand it's gonna suck. Understand it's gonna be unideal. It's gonna be inconvenient, and it's gonna be a lot different than everything I've been doing for the past 12 months. But that's, and working out obviously, but mentally telling myself it's not going to be ideal. So, you know, I'm just going in there, do whatever you got to do. If they say, you know, because especially with, if COVID is still an issue, then it's going to be working around that. You know what I mean? So nothing's going to be ideal for as long as we're in this pandemic, right? So I just understanding that camp's not even ideal when everything's perfect. So, you know, I just going in with the idea that I got a goal, and camp is a part of the journey. And I can't get to the goal unless I maximize that part of the journey.
Let us know what your on-field goals are this year.
On-field goals, I want to be a contributor to my team. Like, I want to help. I want to be part of the reason why we win. And I can only do that by giving 100% and knowing what I'm supposed to do. So it's funny that's my answer, because we talked about the basketball shit earlier, and it was like, I just want to score. But what if I score 50 and we lose? Do I feel better or do I feel worse? You know, so I just want to be a contributor, right? And I know I will be a contributor. I know I'll be exactly what they need and more. But that's my goal. My goal for this year is to contribute to us winning a Grey Cup.
I hope people understand the evolution of that answer. Like, you didn't say I want to be the leader of my team or be the star. I just want to do my part.
5 years ago, I wouldn't watch this, even with me on it. I wouldn't watch it. I would, like, the way I think then was, you know how we grow up as Black folks, and, you know, it's not everybody, but we got a certain set of trauma that we deal with from our past, our ancestors, and it frames how we think, right? And a lot of us gotta go through these kind of like journeys to get us to where we can be peaceful. Wow, this is, the whole thing is, you know, cyclical. Like, but this is life. This is really what life is.
And think about the people you're going to help. Like, I think of a parallel will be like James Harden. His entire career, he's only done what he's been asked to do. Like, he came out as like a he came out as a defensive player when he first got to OKC.
Right.
But then
Six
he
man,
was
like
in the 6-man role.
role player. Yeah.
Then he goes over to Houston. He's asked by D'Antoni to be a scorer. We need you to score. We won't win. So he
Light
gives
it
you
up.
50, night in, night out. Everyone's asking questions like, how is he going to fit in with Kyrie and Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant gets cold with Boston, gets hurt, and out. So it's like, wow, how are him and Kyrie going to do this? They go on a 7-game win streak with just Kyrie and Harden. Harden is leading the league in assists. Like he's like the best point guard in the league at the point of the role of point guard in the league. He was the best point guard during that duration of those 7 games. So it's like all he did was contribute and do his part. And with that being said, he became the most valuable player.
Exactly.
So it's like if you take that mindset and put it into life,
right?
Do what you're asked to do and do what's needed.
Giving, you receive more when you give more.
It's like
crazy.
You may have the most money, but you don't help anyone with your money. You keep it to yourself. This person has half the money you have, but he's more willing to help others around him. They'll call him the people's champ. Right. He doesn't have more money than you.
And they just call you rich.
They call him rich, they call you rich, and they call him the people's champ. So he has more power and resources than you do.
Fact.
What do we know?
Welcome to Earth. What do I know, right? What do I know, bro?
But listen, what I do before we end this, though, I always give people the opportunity to ask me questions. So I know a lot of times they don't do that, but whatever's on your mind, feel free to ask me.
When is the Aux Core Bully Ell Ex tape going to start to be into production?
See, it's crazy when people put you in a hot seat, but
you flip it, but yeah,
but the crazy part is that's what I say. In terms of Ell Ex and Maj project, it's never stopped.
It hasn't.
I want you guys to understand that it's never stopped. So there's songs you guys haven't heard. There's certain songs that we have and haven't recorded. So when it does come out, just know that we're pushing the envelope on every avenue. So whatever genre you think it would be, whatever sound you think you're going to get it and more.
Right.
Whatever you want it.
Not getting, whatever you think you're not getting, whatever you didn't think you would love or enjoy, that shit's going to be there as well. It's going to be a lot of cup lifting and pinky directing. It's going to be a lot of vulnerability. It's going to be a lot of help. It's always going to be content. It's always going to be efficient. But it's I mean, you know it.
We pop our shit.
Indeed.
Nah, you got any more for me?
No, I'm gonna save you the trouble. I'm gonna put you on a hot seat when the seat actually get hot.
Got you.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense. No.
I appreciate you. This right here was, I love these interactions. Like surface level shit for me is like, I've grown past that. Because we builded each other just now. Like we gave each other something, and after this call in and we forget about each other talking, something gets applied. That's just who we are. But this is what we need, right? It's people who need this. It's people who need to understand how to get peaceful, because they're creating unrest and they don't even realize why they're doing it. And they don't want to do it on purpose. It's just custom. It's comfort. It's habit, So I just want to empower. I want to help people. That's it. Like, I'm going to check out this joint at some point. I just want to help folks. That's all.
Exactly. Listen, you definitely helped me with your answers. Feedback it's priceless. You can't put a number on it. And so, I thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your vulnerability.
Thank you for
excited for what's underway. All the progress we have underway. We can't necessarily tell y'all what's going on, but just understand it's going. And it's going well.
It's coming.
But
I mean, I'm gonna say this. I don't know when it's dropping, but it's coming. It's coming. I got big announcements coming soon, man. I'm just gonna drop the video. I'm not even telling them what it is. They're gonna see it and they're gonna be like, oh shit. Big things moving. So I'm looking forward to it.
Big things coming. As always, what do I know? You're rocking with your boy Maj. We did a session with Ell Ex, Leon
Yes,
Johnson of the Calgary Stampede. Also phenomenal writer, phenomenal philanthropist. But as you know, I am also a bully, aka Big Sexy with the glasses. So as you guys know, Road to Recovery is coming soon, and let's get ready.
Yes, sir.